So here we covered structured, unstructured data on the
Okay.
type. And
Mhm.
the integrate, transform, and consolidate, as we discussed in our first, the demo.
Mhm.
Integrate is nothing but transferring the file from one location to another. For example, I have a file in my local, okay, and
Mhm.
I have a cloud storage on Azure. So if I build a system to get that file and store it in a cloud storage, that is also called an integration from one
Okay.
place to another through a mechanism, through a platform. And
Mhm.
transformation, suppose if I have my name in if I if I have a gender field, so based on the gender, if I add a prefix of Mr., Mrs., or Miss, so that kind of addition of a prefix happens during the the transmission of the file. I call it as a transformation. So at my source I just have Bobby. In the
Mhm.
destination, if I have Mr. Bobby or Mrs. Bobby,
Okay.
so I enriched the data, added something which was not there. So I made some calculation, I looked at the gender, and then
Okay.
the line 1 and line 2. So for example, the postal codes. So I have a list of valid postal codes. I did a lookup to check if it's a valid postal code or not. If it is valid, I kept it there. If it was not valid, I removed the postal code from here and then put it in the final table. And
Okay.
then I'll request another process to put a correct postal code based on the street name and the area name and all. So
Mhm.
this kind of activities are called transformations.
Transformation.
Yeah. So consolidation is at the end user. If the cloud has a a clean data for me. So if that is what I refer it as a golden copy of data. So that is
Mhm.
where I say it is consolidated. So that is the
Okay.
different stages of data engineering, and that is done. So the whole process of collecting the data, the technical term is ingest from one
Mhm.
place, in a tabular form or a file format or in any format, and
Mhm.
processing it and then putting it in a destination table. The technical term is the pipeline.
Okay.
So we ingest the data, we transform the data, and then we store it. The whole system can be called as a pipeline, and it can be scheduled or event
Okay.
triggered, basically.
Mhm.
When I say schedule, I can ask the system to run it at 7 a.m. every morning,
Mhm.
or I can ask the system to run it as soon as a file arrives in the source location.
Mhm.
In my
Okay.
local system, yeah, if I have created a folder called daily file processing, and if there is nothing, it will not get triggered. The moment somebody puts a file in there,
Yeah.
so a pipeline gets triggered and initiate the process. So that is called an
Initiates.
event trigger.
Okay.
For a best example is your transactions. The moment you do some transaction on your credit card or debit card, you get an SMS, right?
Yes.
That so and so amount has been debited from your account. So that is
So
an
that
event
that is
trigger,
the event
basically.
trigger. Yeah. As soon as the event has happened, and it
Correct.
triggers the process in the background. Okay.
Correct. And data storages with Azure perspective, or in fact in general. So there is a database at the destination, which where we consolidate. So or it could be just a storage location. So it depends on what type of data you are storing. If your
Mhm.
final destination is to keep a table, then you would be storing it into a database. Or if
Mhm.
you, after the transformation, if you create another format of file, you read a CSV and then you do a .txt there. Or you can create a PDF, or you can create a Word document. In such cases, you will use a data storage account on Azure.
Mhm.
So that is the data lake Gen 2. That is the storage account name, and we'll deal with that later.
Okay.
And then why do we need this basically? So if you ask, a few years back, everything was maintained by the host actually.
Yes. Local
So when I
servers.
say
Yeah.
local servers, yeah, we called it as the data centers. So
Mhm.
data centers was fast. I mean, when you run within the premises, the solutions were running fast, and then everything was under the host's control. But
Mhm.
at some point of time, the maintenance of data centers was becoming a big headache. because if you needed to extend the size of your server, you had to physically go buy the server, come and add it to your rack, and then integrate that space to your server. Then only you were able to extend your business basically.
Okay.
So now the server extension is just a click away, because the big companies like Microsoft Azure or AWS or Google or IBM, they are giving you the opportunity because they have
Hmm.
everything ready in their stock. You just click a button and they add it for you, and it's within a minute or two it is ready for you to use for your consumption.
Yes.
That is the first basic idea of cloud. And the second is headaches. So there are different types of services. So platform as a service, software as a service, or you just get the infrastructure and build everything on your own. So that is
Hmm.
basically you build your data center on a cloud. So I'll give you a quick example of the two types of services today: platform as a
Okay.
service and software as a service. So when I
Hmm.
platform as a service, the best example is the Windows virtual machine. So it is nothing but you buying a PC on cloud. So
Okay.
you get a virtual machine, you will get the virtual machine address, username, password, and then once you log in, what you install in that personal computer is up to you. So this is a platform as a service model. Basically, they
Okay.
give you a system. And
Hmm.
there is a SQL Server database. This is the best example for software as a service. So you're
Hmm.
not getting any machine as such. You will get the SQL Server, and then you can create the databases inside. So
Hmm.
from the outside world, you can simply give the IP address of that SQL Server and your username password, one of the authentication methods, and you can log in, create a table, and do anything you want. Treat it as a living database. So
Hmm.
that is the software as a service model. Okay, so based on what configuration you get on Azure, your performance and efficiency is all depends on that. And the fail-proof system is one of the main features of cloud. When I say this, it is something to do with a disaster recovery. For some
Hmm.
reason, the servers, because even though it is called as cloud, these are also a physical infrastructure existing somewhere, right, within the
Hmm.
Microsoft premises. So
Yes.
they need to be replicated and backed up from time to time.
Hmm.
So there are different types of backing up. If I call one city, for example, the Indian, cloud system, if I say do locally redundant meaning copy the same system and keep it as a backup. If one server goes down, just point your connection to the other server and bring it to business as usual state.
Hmm.
So if it is locally redundant, in the same data center, the application, the data or the servers are replicated. If I opt for geo redundant, it will choose a different geographical center. For example, in India, if we have one server, and
Hmm.
in Singapore we have another server for Asia, so all my systems, though it runs from Indian tenant, or
Hmm.
from time to time on a daily basis or hourly basis, it will be copied to Singapore server. So the key idea is, if something happens to the Indian infrastructure, so I will be connecting to the Singapore side of my things.
Okay.
So there are different types of how you want to replicate. So cost wise, I think a geo replication will cost you more, and a local replication will cost you less. I mean, if at all
Okay.
you take exams, there will be questions around. uh, they'll give you a scenario and ask you which is the best suited replication logic, replication settings.
Okay.
If it is business critical, you always choose the best option, which is the geo. Or if it is your personal workspace, local works for you, it's fine.